I decided to make this video for my friends. So if you're watching this video, that means you're my friend or you're a friend of one of my friends. I've talked to my friends and told you about this, and I decided to put it in a little video to kind of review what my story is. And if you decide to pass it on to one of your friends, then it would make a little bit more sense if they had this introductory video. So anyways, what happened to me is over a year ago, a friend gave me the book, Heaven is for Real for Christmas. And it was a book in chapters, bestseller, standing out in the aisle, so she picked it up. And I'm not much of a reader, so I set it aside for a couple of months. And one night, who knows why, I decided to pick up the book and read it. Well, I was reading this book, and it was a little out of the box. Like this, it was about a little boy, and he had died. Well, his parents didn't know he had died. He was on surgery. And a few months later, when he had recuperated and he was sitting in the car, he would start talking about his grandpa or his little sister. And he had never met his grandpa, and he had never met his little sister, and never even knew she actually existed because she was stillborn. Anyways, as he was making these statements, his parents began to think, did this kid go to heaven? Because he's 3 or 4 years old. Where is he getting this information? And he's talking so factual about it. So anyways, the book went on like that and had some pretty wild things in it. But that didn't, fizz me too much until I got to a spot in this book. And my heart literally skipped a beat and I could hardly breathe at what I was seeing. And so I got out of bed, went into my office and started Googling on my computer doing research. And I saw Oprah shows and all of these shows where they were interviewing this person. And I could not believe what I was seeing. Well, YouTube. When you start watching YouTube, there's videos that you click on the side, and then there's more that you click on the side, and it's like an never-ending thing. Well, that's what happened to me because I started clicking on videos on the side that were about people who had died and went to the other side, and then they were revived and they came back and told their stories. So as I'm clicking on these videos, I'm getting more and more fascinated because these people have either gone to heaven or to hell. And I'm thinking, wow, this is really real. I mean, these people are coming back telling their stories. So I ended up watching hours and hours. In fact, I watched hours into the night, got up the next morning, watched another 10 hours, went to bed, another 10 hours. I watched 40 hours in those first 4 days. And I was just like completely fascinated. Meanwhile, I have a career. I was vice president with a corporation. I can't just be watching ththese videos 24 hours a day. But for the first 4 days, all I did was 40 hours of these videos. Then what I did is I kept going on watching hundreds of hours of these videos, hundreds of videos for the next year. And it's now been 1 year. And so I've been talking to my friends about what the summary of all these videos are. And there is basically 4 things that were completely consistent in all of these videos. And that's what really freaked me out. Wow. In fact, I'd be watching them after hours and hours. I could actually predict what they were going to say because it's so consistent. Their stories of what hell was like or what heaven was like were so consistent. Now, I did end up watching more about the people that went to hell. I don't know. There seemed like there was more stories of that. Maybe the people who went to heaven didn't document their stories as much because it wasn't as much of a freak out. But basically, I got fascinated more with the stories about people that went to hell and just watched endless amount of these. And so here is the summary of all my hundreds of hours of research from real experiences that people have documented. And the 4 things that I found consistent. So this is not my opinion that I'm giving here. It's actually a summary so that you don't have to watch hundreds of hours of videos. However, I really encourage you to do that because there's nothing like watching the real thing. But the 4 things that I could say were consistent in this is number 1, in all of these videos, these people were more alive after they died than when they were living in their body. So what would happen is their soul would come out of their body and they literally could see more colors, more shapes. They could smell more. They could touch more. They could sense more. They could hear more. All of their senses were 10 times or even more than that so much more alive that when these people actually were resuscitated and came back into their soul, came back into their body, and they came alive again, a lot of these people had a really hard time dealing with it, because it was like they were going back to complete confinement. They said, this life that we're living feels like a dream. The other is reality. And that's what they all said. That was reality. This on earth is a dream. So point number one, they were all way more alive after they died. And to go with that point, what was kind of funny is, well, amusing, is that the people who actually did not believe in God, the people who were atheists, or people who, there's a lot of people actually that I think don't believe in God or don't believe in life after death, even though they kind of say they do. You know, I would say majority of people don't really believe in it. What happened to them is that when their soul came out of their body, they were totally confused. They were confused because they were more alive. So some of them, you know, didn't, well, first of all, some people didn't know they had died, because when you die instantly, you don't know. And then when they were more alive than they were like feeling the best they've ever felt. Like they felt terrific. And they didn't know that they were dead. And when they were realized, you know, there's my body lying on the table or in the car or wherever they were really confused because they didn't believe they had a soul. So it was a little bit of an adjustment for them to actually understand that they were dead, and yet they were more alive. The second thing was that they were all aware that wherever they were and wherever they were going, it was for infinity. It was never going to end. It was never going to change. It was for eternity. Now, I don't know how they could sense that, but I guess in the same way that we can sense that we are physical and we're finite, we all know we're going to die. None of us, you know, thinks that we as humans are going to live forever. So we know that. Well, in the same way that we know that we're finite, they knew that they were infinite. Okay, and number three is, yes, some were going up to a light, and some were going down. And as I said, most of the ones on YouTube seemed like they were going to hell. Now, the thing what was really strange about this is these were all kinds of people. I'm talking the sweetest little lady you've ever seen. The man that believes in God and, you know, would never hurt anybody, as well as the atheist, the party animal, and just the people that don't care. I mean, they were going to hell. Now, what about the sweet little lady? I mean, why is she going there? So it seemed like it didn't matter about religious views, and it didn't matter about a lot of things. These people were going to hell. But the fourth thing was that when they realized they were in the spiritual dimension and they were going to hell, because they all knew they were going down to darkness, and they didn't want to go there. And they knew that when they got there, they would never, ever, ever, ever be able to come out and return. So what would happen is either on their way there, or some people were actually in hell, but I guess they had 1 foot in eternity and 1 foot back on earth, because somebody was resuscitating them back home. So I guess their body or their spirit knew that they weren't completely cut off. And so what they would do is they would cry out for God. And the amazing thing is that when they would cry out for God, guess who showed up? This is out of the box, and this was the most amazing thing to me. Jesus. Now, these people were not Christians. These people were not Jesus believers. These people were even atheists, but they came to a belief that there was God because they were in the spiritual realm going down to the evil, and they felt the spiritual. And so they cried out to God, and Jesus showed up. We're not talking about the whole religion of Christianity. We're actually talking about a person. We're talking about this person, Jesus. Now, the thing that's kind of like, wow, is I know that we know the stories of Jesus and, you know, the history. He's a historical figure. He's this guy in the Bible. You know, is he really real? Is he actually here, alive, right now, 2 seconds or 1 second over on the other side? And according to these people, he is. And like I said, they were calling out to God. They weren't calling out to Jesus. They were calling out to God, and Jesus shows up. So that was consistent, and it was, I thought, pretty wild. Another thing about this was in all of these videos, these people do not mention religion when they're telling their stories. They don't mention, you know, church. They don't mention, even with the whole Jesus thing, they don't mention the whole religion of Christianity, okay? Because I've watched videos where Christians are in hell. And I mean, it's all kinds of people that are in hell. It's not a religion. That's the big thing I got from these videos. It's not the religion, even the whole Christian religion that has started from, you know, the whole history of Jesus. You know, people have made that into a whole religion. And it's really about the person, this person, not about anything else. So anyways, when I was telling some of my friends about these videos, they said, well, you know, these people are telling these stories. You know, some people like to get popular, so they tell these stories. And I'm thinking, okay, who in their right mind would ever say this to be popular? I mean, this is not the way you get popular. First of all, you're telling people that you died and you went to hell. Okay, that's not a really good thing to tell people, because they're going to think that, you know, you must be a bad person if you're going down there. And secondly, they come back and they're like talking about Jesus. Like, they are Jesus freaks. They want to tell everybody about their experience and that everybody needs Jesus to be saved. That is not the way to get friends and be popular in this society today. So I don't think anyone's making up these stories to get popularity. And if you actually watch these videos, you're going to see how sincere these people are. These people's lives have been changed. These people are so loving after this experience. In fact, that is their whole purpose. All they want to do is love people and give them the message that Jesus is God and He is the way to God. Another thing that I just wanted to mention is that when I would watch these people who went to hell, there would be people who were in hell talking to these people that were kind of halfway in, halfway out. And they knew somehow that they weren't completely cut off from the earth and they weren't completely in hell. And so they would cry out to these people. And the thing that they kept saying over and over again in video after video, these people would say, tell the people on earth that hell is real. Like, that's all their message was in hell. They weren't trying to get out because they knew they were in there forever and ever and ever and ever. They knew that there was no chance. But they wanted their friends and their family to know about it. It wasn't even about their friends and their family. They wanted everyone on earth. They were saying, just tell the people on earth that hell is real. And you don't want to come here. In fact, they would even tell the people that were visiting there, so to speak, you don't want to come here. Don't come here. You will never get out. So that was a little disturbing too. I mean, that's pretty out there. So anyways, I just wanted to share with you what I saw on these videos and the consistent message that I got from these 4 points in all of them. And just that it's actually really something to think about. Like, if I was going to listen to something and see if it was real, the thing that I would find the most truthful or that I could trust in would be straight from the horse's mouth, somebody who had been there and back. And that's actually what these videos were. And that's why I found them so fascinating, is these are everyday people that are still alive today. And they've been there and back, and they're telling this story. Who can you believe more? Someone that's been there or someone who's not? All of us have not been there, and we're all saying it doesn't exist, or, you know, don't worry, you don't need to worry about the other life. We've never been there. And here are these people that have been there. It's changed their whole life, and that's all they talk about for the rest of their life, is trying to communicate this message. So if these videos actually are true, it's the most important decision that someone can make. Is it true, and what am I going to do about it? Because from these videos, we have a soul, and we are 1 second away from infinity, from eternity. Just every time I get on the highway and I'm driving on that crazy highway, I know that any second my life can be snapped away from me, and I'm into eternity in a life that is more real than the life apparently that I have right now. So anyways, enjoy the videos, and I'd love to hear any of your comments. Okay, bye.